everyone, before you head out to ride, I'm going to show you how to do a quick bike safety check to make sure everything is up and ready to go. I'm coming to you from my basement, which is where I keep all the bikes, and one of the ways that we're going to check our bike is we're going to follow the M shape of the bike. So if you look back here at the rear axle, we're going to start down here, follow this up, we're going to check the seat, then we're going to go down and check the pedals. Then we're going to go back up, check the handlebars, and then finally we're going to go down and we're going to check the front axle of the bike. So one of the first things you want to do is to make sure that your tires and your wheels are spinning freely and that they're not, the tire isn't rubbing on the brake or anything. I have disc brakes, which you can see here at the bottom. Some of you might have rim brakes. So if there's any rubbing, you might have to adjust your through axle or your skewer, or you might have to adjust your brakes. So I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to spin my wheel. I don't hear any rubbing, so that looks okay. I was checking out my disc brake. So that seems to be pretty good. The other thing I'm going to check is the rear axle, and you can see at the bottom that you have the skewer that comes through. I'm just going to make sure that it's tight. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So I tighten it a little bit. So that seems to be okay. Next, I'm going to follow it up to the seat post, and you can tighten your seat post if needed, but I'm going to stand behind it and twist it. Nothing moves at all, so if I had to tighten it, I certainly would. There's usually, this one's a little bit different. I would tighten it back here. Some of you might have a screw right here to tighten, but you want to twist it and make sure it doesn't move, so that way you know it's not going to fall down on you when you ride. Next, we're going to follow the other part of the M and go down to the pedals. I'm going to twist my pedals to make sure that they're not going to come off. I'm also going to spin them. Let me see if I can lift it up. But I'll also spin my pedals, make sure that they're okay. I'll spin the other one. The other thing I forgot to tell you when you're checking the back is you want to lift up your bike and drop it from ankle height just to see if there's any noise. So I'm going to do that now. I lifted it up. I don't hear anything unusual, so that's good. So we check the rear wheel. If you need air, they'll also put air in your tire. We check the pedals, the seat post. Now we're going to check the handlebars and do the same thing. See if you can twist it. I can't, so that's all good. I think I tried to shift a little bit. Next, I'm going to follow this down to the front. Again, I'm going to spin my wheel. I don't hear anything, no rubbing, nothing. And I also check my brakes. The last thing you want to do is make sure that your brakes, you can squeeze them enough so that you can't quite see that. You want to be able to squeeze your brakes enough so that it doesn't go all the way to your handlebars and that both of your brakes are working. And everything sounds pretty good. I'm going to come around here, and one of the other things I like to do is just to make sure that the chain is okay. So if you look at your chain, you do have to lube it from time to time. I'm just going to spin it backwards. I don't hear anything unusual there either. So make sure that if you do hear any odd noises, you might need to lube your chain. You also need to check it when you get it serviced to make sure that your chain doesn't have too much play in it, because if it does, then you might need a new chain. Finally, the very last thing I'll do, this rub's funny, so I'm going to do that. Actually, two last things. I'm going to check my lights. Yep, that one's on. I will also check my rear light. Both of them work. And finally, I'm going to fill my tires up. So I'm going to spin it. I love that sound. And I'll spin my other one and get the needle at the bottom. Make sure that your pump has a gauge on it, so you can tell how much pressure you need to fill it up to. I run tubeless, so I fill mine up to 80 psi. If you have tubes in your road tires, put that on there, you might have to fill it up to about 90 psi or up to 100. I'm gonna wait. See how much this one's filled up. I wrote it a few days ago, so it's actually pretty close to 80 psi. It's going down though. It's at 70. So I want to make sure I pump up my tires before each and every ride. And I'm also looking at the gauge to make sure that it's filling. If you don't fill up your tires before each and every ride, it could be a problem. It's easier to get a flat, and the tires and the tubes inside have to support you as a rider. So this one's at 80 psi. And I'll go and fill up the front tire. And I do this before every single ride. So if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, I do it before I leave the house. And that one was pretty close to 70. I like riding 80 psi because it tends to be a little bit easier on me. One more should do it. And then you tighten it, tighten the valve. You always want to make sure you do that. And because I have tubeless, I also do a quick check of my tires too. So before I roll my bike on out, I spin the tire really, really slowly, and I just see if there's anything that's on it or in the way. And I do the same with the rear tire, just to make sure nothing is stuck. And one of the things I forgot to do is to drop the front end from ankle height to here to see if there's any noise. Nope, nothing unusual. So she is ready to go. That's all for now.